methods of the early nationalists. So the early nationalists represented the most progressive force of the time. They made the following contributions to the Indian national movement. So what were their contributions or what were their achievements? The early nationalists created national awakening among people that they belong to one common country. We already studied in methods of the early nationalists that they aimed at educating the Indian people to arouse national political consciousness among them, to create a united public opinion, and they also achieved this their aim. They managed to create national awakening among the people that they belong to one common country, that is India. This made Indians conscious of the bonds of common political, economic and cultural interests that united them. So that is why this education that was provided, this awareness that was provided to the Indians by the early nationalists made them aware of their relationship, that they had a common political, economic and cultural interest, and this feeling united them. Second is the early nationalists trained people in politics by popularizing the ideas of democracy, civil liberties, secularism and nationalism. So these were the ideals that were propagated within the Indians by the early nationalists. The early nationalists did pioneering work by exposing the true nature of the British rule in India. They were the first, the early nationalists, though their demand were liberal, though their process was of prayer and petition, but they achieved the aim of exposing the true nature of the British rule in India. They made people realize the economic content and character of British imperialism. By doing so, they weakened the foundations of the British rule in India. So by making the people aware, by making the people realize the economic content and the character of British imperialism, that is the British rule in India, they laid the foundation of Indian national movement, and they also weakened the foundation of the British rule in India. Their political and economic programs established the truth that India must be ruled in the interest of the Indians. India should be ruled, but that should be in the interest of the Indians, that should be for the welfare of the Indians. The efforts of the early nationalists led to the following reforms. So the efforts that were made by the early nationalists brought these following reforms. What were they? The appointment of a public service commission in 1886. In 1886, public service commission was appointed. A resolution of the House of Commons in 1893 for simultaneous examination, as we have already studied that there should be simultaneous examination for the ICS, Indian Civil Service, in London and India, and that reform was passed. Appointment of the Welby Commission on Indian Expenditure, 1895. Welby Commission was actually the administration of expenditure of India that was set up to look into Indian expenditure. And the last reform was the Indian Councils Act of 1882. It was actually introduced, this Indian Council Act introduced changes to the composition and function of Legislative Council within British India. So these were the reforms that were made by the efforts of the early nationalists. Criticism of early nationalists. So though they had a good achievement in their efforts, but still they have some kind of criticism. The methods used by the early nationalists of passing resolutions and sending petitions were criticized as inadequate. So their method of prayer and petition was criticized as inadequate. They depended on generosity of the British. The early nationalists, they depended on the kindness of the British instead of relying on their own strength. The early nationalists did not depend on their own strength. Rather, they depended on British generosity and challenging the imperialist might. And by relying on, without relying on their own strength, they were challenging the imperial rule of the British. So that was the first criticism. Second is they failed to realize that British and Indian interests clashed with each other. Britain was using India's resources to increase its wealth. So they thought that, as we have already studied, that the early nationalists thought that they will put forward their demands but in a gradual manner. But they failed to realize that British already had a clash with India, as British was using India's resources to increase its wealth. So no way British was going to fulfill their demands. Then third is the early nationalists failed to draw the masses into the mainstream of the national movement. Their area of influence was limited to the urban educated Indians only. So the early nationalists, they put their emphasis only on the limited urban educated Indians. They failed to draw the entire Indian mass into the mainstream of the national movement. In particular, their leadership was confined to professional groups such as lawyers, doctors, journalists, and teachers. So this was the criticism of the early nationalists. Now we will study the prominent early nationalist leaders and their contributions. Two contributions you have to study. Every early nationalist, this not every, but the prominent early nationalist, that is Dadabhai Naoroji, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and Surendranath Banerjee is in your syllabus, and you have to study according to your prescribed syllabus. Two contributions of these early nationalists you have to study. So first is Dadabhai Naoroji. Dadabhai Naoroji, popularly known as Grand Old Man of India, he is known as the Grand Old Man of India, was born in a Parsi family in Mumbai on September 4, 1825. He worked as a professor of mathematics in Elphinstone College at Mumbai for 10 years. In 1855, he left the teaching profession and went to England as a partner in a firm. As we have already studied, most of the time he has spent in England to make the British public aware of the problems, or aware of the British imperialism that was going on in India. In 1869, he returned to Mumbai. He was elected to the Mumbai Municipal Corporation and later to the Town Council. He founded the Bombay Association. And edited the newspaper Rast Goftar, that is Speaker of Truth. He started a magazine, that is Dharma Margdarshak. He started movements against the Vernacular Press Act and the atrocious treatment of poor peasants by the zamindars, the very cruel treatment done by the zamindars towards the poor peasants. He raised his voice against this atrocious treatment. Now his contributions. First is India's unofficial ambassador. During his stay in England, Dadabhai was looked upon as India's unofficial ambassador, fighting for the cause of his country. We have already studied this, and that is why he was known as India's unofficial ambassador. He was in England fighting for the cause, fighting for the welfare of his country. In 1865, he founded this London Indian Society in collaboration with W.C. Banerjee to publicize grievances of Indians. He set up in 1865 this London India Society in collaboration with W.C. Banerjee in order to publicize the problems of the Indians. He was the first Indian to become the member of the British House of Commons in England. This is his another contribution. While he was a member of the British Parliament, he brought to the notice of the House important matters related to India. So he was a member of the British Parliament, but he brought to the notice of the House every time important matters that was related to India. He was in favor of appointing educated Indians to high posts. It was due to his efforts that in 1893 the House of Commons passed a resolution in favor of holding imperial civil service examination in England and India simultaneously. This we have already studied, that the reform was achieved, and this was achieved because of Dadabhai Naoroji. Because of him, the House of Commons passed the resolution, that the resolution of holding the Imperial Service Examination, that is ICS examination, in England and India simultaneously. In 1866, he founded the East India Association. This is another achievement. The East India Association soon became popular and its branches were set up in Kolkata, Mumbai and Chennai. Then second point is role in the Congress. What was Dadabhai Naoroji's role in Indian National Congress? Dadabhai's role in the Congress was praiseworthy. He took an active part in the foundation of the Indian National Congress and was elected its president thrice. He was the president of Indian National Congress thrice, that is in 1886, 1893 and 1906. Boycott, Swadeshi and national education were passed by the Congress. These three were the methods of Indian national movement, were passed by the Congress under his presidency, under the presidency of Dadabhai Naoroji. The credit for demanding Swaraj from the Congress platform for the first time, that was in 1906, goes to him. This was his another contribution. He was the first to demand Swaraj from the Congress platform, and that was in 1906. In his presidential address, he said that the Congress wanted self-government or Swaraj like that of the United Kingdom or the colonies. So when he gave his first presidential address, he said that the Congress wanted self-government or Swaraj like they have in the countries of United Kingdom or the colonies. Then exposed the economic ills of India. As an economic thinker, he came to the conclusion that the root cause for economic ills of India was the exploitation of India by the British. India is facing all sorts of economic problem only because of the economic exploitation that was done in India by the British. Dadabhai's views on Indian economy are given in his book. This is very important. His work, that is Poverty and Untitled British in India. This was the work written by Dadabhai Naoroji, in which he has given his views on Indian economy and the exploitation of the British rule on these economic resources. His famous drain theory, this is also important. His famous drain theory explained how India's wealth was being drained to England through various ways. In his drain theory, he explained how India's wealth was going to England through various ways like spending in British army, spending in the salary of the British officers who were in India, then pensions, the profits, all these were the various ways in which Indian wealth was being drained to England. Dadabhai passed away in 1917, leaving behind a lesson of selfless service to the nation. C.Y. Chintamani had rightly said, the public life of India had been adorned by a galaxy of brilliant intellects. Adorned means decorated by a galaxy of brilliant intellects and selfless patriots. The life of India, the public life of India was decorated by a galaxy, by a number of brilliant intellects, educated people and selfless patriots. But there has been in our time none comparable with Dadabhai Naoroji. So there were many brilliant intellects and selfless patriots, but none of them could be compared with the intellectualism and the patriotism that was achieved from Dadabhai Naoroji. Next is Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Gopal Krishna Gokhale was born at Kolhapur in Maharashtra in 1866. He was a professor of history and economics at Fergusson College in Pune. He was influenced by the ideals of Justice M.G. Ranade. He joined the Deccan Education Society. He joined the Deccan Education Society founded by Justice Ranade. On behalf of the society, he went to England to propagate Indian views before the Welby Commission. Already we have studied the Welby Commission was the administration of expenditure that looked after the Indian expenditures. So this on behalf of the society, he went to England to propagate Indian views before the Welby Commission. He was awarded the title of CIE, that is Companion of the Indian Empire. Gokhale became the most popular leader of the Indian National Congress. He presided over the Varanasi session, the sessions that were going on in the Indian National Congress at various places in various time. The Varanasi session took place in 1905 and that was presided by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Having faith in British liberalism, he said, so he had faith in British liberalism, and that is why he said the goal of the Congress should be the attainment of a form of government similar to that which existed in the self-governing colonies of the British Empire. So the goal of the Congress should be in the attainment of a form of government, that form of government which is existing in the self-governing countries of the British Empire. His contributions were, first is persuaded the British for reforms. He influenced the British to bring the reforms. Gokhale favored the use of constitutional means to achieve his goals. So again, he favored the use of, achieving self-governance, but within the framework of the British rule. He favored the use of constitutional means to achieve his goals. He opposed the policies of the British government whenever necessary. He criticized the government on issues such as, so these were the issues that were criticized by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. What were those issues? Incurring huge expenditure on British army. British was spending too much money on British army, and that was opposed by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Adopting the policy of racial discrimination in appointment to high posts. The Britishers were following this policy of racial discrimination in appointments to high posts. That was also opposed by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Then imposing production tax on cotton. The cultivation tax, the production tax on cotton was imposed by the Britishers on the farmers, on the peasants, and that was opposed by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. He made a strong plea, he made a strong request for the reform of legislative councils and separation of judiciary from the executive. So for that, these were his contributions. He played an important role in the passage of Minto-Morley reforms. This Minto-Morley reforms was actually the Indian Council Act of 1909. We already studied one Indian Council Act of 1892, and this Minto-Morley reforms was the Indian Council Act of 1909 that brought a limited increase in the involvement of Indians in the British government. According to Minto-Morley reforms, limited increase of Indians in the British government was made. That was solely for Gopal Krishna Gokhale. He also served a member of the Indian Public Service Commission and urged it to increase the share of Indians in higher services. So since he became the member of Indian Public Service Commission, so that is why he persuaded the Britishers to increase the number of Indians in higher services, that is higher posts. During his visit to England, he tried to persuade the British statesmen not to give effect to the partition of Bengal. So when he visited England, he tried to influence the British politicians, the British statesmen, that the partition of Bengal should not be supported. Partition of Bengal we will study in the next chapter, that was passed by Lord Curzon to divide Bengal into East Bengal and West Bengal, and that partition was Gopal Krishna Gokhale did not want that partition. That is why he visited England to influence the British statesmen. The service of Indian society. Gokhale set up this Service of Indian Society in 1905. The main aim of the society was to train national leaders who would dedicate themselves to the service of India. In this society, in this organization, the national leaders were trained who wanted to dedicate themselves to the service of India. Some of the important members of the society were Srinivas Shastri and Hridayanand Punjru. Their role as a member of Imperial Legislative Council. In 1902, Gokhale became the member of the Imperial Legislative Council. He requested in the council for reduction in salt duty, that is salt tax. He requested for the reduction of salt tax and the abolition of excise duty on cotton goods. Excise duty is the tax on cotton goods. He requested to abolish tax on cotton goods. His relentless efforts led to reduction in toll tax. His relentless means his continuous efforts at least brought reduction in the toll tax. He tried to introduce a bill with a view to make primary education compulsory, but he could not achieve much success in it. So he wanted to make primary education compulsory, but he was not able to achieve success in that particular field. Being an economist, he demanded radical changes in the fiscal policy. Fiscal means the financial policy, the monetary policy, and better jobs for the educated middle class. He impressed upon the government to reduce the land revenue. Impressed means he influenced, he demanded the government to reduce the land revenue or the land tax. Gokhale and Gandhiji. So this is the relationship. This was the relationship between Gopal Krishna Gokhale and Gandhiji. Gokhale went to South Africa where he helped Gandhiji in his fight against racial discrimination. We all know that Mahatma Gandhi was fighting in South Africa against racial discrimination, and he was helped by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. The credit of persuading Gandhiji to return to India and join Indian public life also goes to Gokhale. So before that, Gandhiji was in South Africa. We all know that. So Gokhale went to South Africa, and no doubt he helped Gandhiji in his fight against racial discrimination, but he also influenced Gandhiji. He also persuaded Gandhiji to return to India and join this Indian public life with the other national leaders. In fact, Gandhiji accepted Gokhale as his political mentor, that is political teacher. Gokhale died on February 15, 1915 when his popularity was at its peak. The next prominent early nationalist leader was Surendranath Banerjee. Surendranath Banerjee was a nationalist leader, popular journalist, and dedicated educationist. He was born in Bengal in 1848. He was the first Indian to qualify for the Indian Civil Service examination. This is important. He was the first Indian to qualify the Indian Civil Service examination. He worked as a magistrate in Assam. He was a lawyer in Assam, but he was soon dismissed because he opposed the policy of racial discrimination followed by the British. So he was dismissed from his post because he was opposing the policy of racial discrimination that was being followed by the British. Surendranath began his career as a professor of as a professor of English at the Metropolitan College. He set up his own school, which later developed into Ripon College. Surendranath was elected to the Calcutta Corporation and remained its member for nearly 2 decades, for almost 20 years. He was elected to the Bengal Legislative Council 4 times. In 1921, he was appointed as a Minister of Self-Government and Health by the Governor of Bengal. He was the first Indian to hold that position. He was appointed the Minister of Self-Government and Health by the Governor of Bengal, and this post was the first time held by an Indian. He advocated use of constitutional methods for the attainment of India's goal. Again, since he is an early nationalist leader, so his aim was to achieve India's goal but within the constitutional methods. His famous saying was, "Opposition where necessary, cooperation where possible." So according to Surendranath Banerjee, opposition should be there wherever necessary, but again cooperation should also be there wherever possible. His contributions: established the Indian Association. Indian Association was established by him. The fight against the wrong policies of the British. He founded the Indian Association in 1876. Its aim was to educate the people, to create strong public opinion in the country and arouse political consciousness and unity. Then created an All India political organization. In order to create an All India political organization, Surendranath convened the Indian National Conference in 1883. He started this Indian National Conference in 1883 at Kolkata. Surendranath Banerjee's Indian National Conference merged with Indian National Congress in 1886, as both organizations had similar objectives. So Surendranath Banerjee's Indian National Conference and the Indian National Congress, they both merged with each other in 1886 because both had similar objectives. He presided over the 2 sessions of the Congress, once in 1895 and another in 1902. Political ideas of Surendranath Banerjee. Surendranath Banerjee edited newspaper, that is Bengali, which served as a powerful medium for mobilizing public opinion. In this newspaper, the public opinions were written and mobilized. His book, that is Nation in the Making, gives an account of his political concern and his views about self-government. Banerjee started agitation. So these were the acts. Again, it is important, these were the acts against which Surendranath Banerjee agitated, that is License Act, Arms Act, Vernacular Press Act. These were the acts against which he agitated, and against lowering the age from 21 to 19 years to appear in the ICS examination. He tried to lower the age of ICS examination to appear in the ICS examination, that was from 21 to 19 years. He opposed the Minto Morley reforms of 1909, which introduced separate electorates for Hindus and Muslims. So the Minto Morley reforms, that I already said that it was the Indian Council Act of 1909. He opposed to Minto Morley reforms because that supported, in Minto Morley reforms of 1909, supported separate electorates, that is separate election for Hindus and separate election for Muslims. So that is why he opposed this Minto Morley reforms of 1909. He also opposed the division of Bengal by Lord Curzon in 1905. Banerjee, popularly known as father of Indian nationalism. This is important. Father of Indian nationalism, Surendranath Banerjee. He breathed his last in 1925.